All right, everybody, call this meeting to order 10 o'clock on the 11th of February. Hope everybody's doing well. This is for the ESInet user group meeting. We'll kick off by saying make sure that you sign in online. The link is in the chat. Thank you, Jennifer. And we'll kick it right over to Tracy with the metrics and reports review.
Hey guys, good morning. Thanks for joining us today. The first few minutes here, we will be going over our probe testing. As we are all aware, this first one, test completion codes, is simply testing the performance of the network for the month of January. We're just expecting to be able to reach the server. This is a constant ping back and forth. And as long as, there's activity on this chart, then everything is going as planned. It's just, like I said, it's a continuous ping to the server. We would only be concerned if we had a whole day where it was in that pink null, and that would mean we weren't reaching the server. So let's see. Next one, let me switch the MOF by PSAP. This chart, instead of testing network quality, we are testing voice quality. I'm trying to look at my sheet here. I don't know why there's a gap in here because it looks like it did start January 1st. But let me make a note, Steve, and I'll try to run that again and see if I still get that same gap on the left. I don't know if it printed wrong or maybe I exported it too quickly. But I didn't get any alarms that showed that there was anything wrong with the voice quality. We want everything to be above a 4, which we can tell on the side there it is. That's what the tariff is recommending. Down. Then we have the MOS by ECMC route. Again, I'm thinking I exported too quickly because we have that same gap on the left, but I will pull it again when we finish this call. This, the same as before. We want to see anything above the number 4 there on the left, which is what we're seeing here. So when we look at next, packet loss by ECMC route, we look both at Denver and Miami, and we're looking at less than or equal to 0.5, 0.5. So we're happy with what we see on this one. It looks like there was a jump there on the 28th, 29th of January, but it is right at that 0.5, so I don't think it would have sent anything to my NOC. I can double check. We look at jitter with these metrics as well. This is also looking at Denver and Miami. We do our measurements in microseconds. So 20 milliseconds is the same as 20,000 microseconds. Otherwise, we would not see anything on this chart. So we are happy with what we see here. We did a little investigation on this one too, because you guys had asked about a difference between Miami and Denver, and there hasn't been anything conclusive that has come back from my NOC. They're aware of it, but nothing that indicates an issue with one side or the other. Any questions for me on the Splunk probe investigations? All right, let's dig into that tracker. Let me glance and see who is online. So that top one here, we'll go to that one first. This was where last month we had some conversations around some disconnects that my technical folks were going to work with the NOC to see if we could get some information on how and why these got canceled. I know, we shared with you, we're kind of in the process of transitioning between Andrew and Michelle. I know Andrew's on. I don't know, Andrew, if you had a chance to do any further investigation on the tickets for these or not. It looks like it was Greenwood Village and Westco.
Oh, sorry, I do not have an update.
Okay. I will make a note. We could touch base maybe early next week.
Yes.
And then like when I send this update out next week, maybe we'll have something on there. The next two, I did invite Intrado to this call because there were a few questions that came up around the GIS project. One of them was around the data and the scheduling. I think I saw Caroline on here. She was more than willing to hop on and answer some questions that you guys may have. I was fortunate I did get to attend her kickoff call yesterday with a lot of counties. And basically we covered a lot of this, right? It's the PSAPs provide the data, and that's kind of what gets you on the schedule to move forward. But I did invite her because last month you guys had some specific questions. So I don't know if those have been answered since the training completed yesterday, or if we still have specific questions that maybe Entrado can help us with.
And Tracy, this is Rich. I'm on as well, and I can help talk towards those too.
Fantastic.
I mean,
And I know,
if it helps, I can kind of give a high level overview of where we stand.
sure. Yeah, I know she did a lot yesterday in that meeting, but not, everybody wasn't on the call. So that would be great.
Yeah, and we can provide this externally if folks would like. Right now, we have about 10 counties. The data is ready. It's loaded within some databases, but not our production databases for routing. So the estimated date for deployment on those is March 1st, as we went through. So this includes Crowley, Eagle, Garfield, Lake, Los Animas, Moffett, Otero, Park, Phillips, and San Miguel. Other areas in progress quite a bit that we have kind of readiness estimated for some of them mid-March. They may pull back and be earlier. So about what I would say is it looks like we have 24 or so PSAPs that are in progress or ready to go. We have another 10 or so counties that we've created their EGDMS. We haven't the uploads for the GIS data haven't started yet, and then about, I would say, roughly 26 or 27 we haven't heard from yet. So we're making incredibly good progress. We're going to have a good amount of counties and PSAPs ready to go March 1st. High level, the process we're there is we're going to just, we've done this multiple times in multiple different regions across the country. What we typically do is find a small to medium-sized PSAP to initially deploy, and we'll do that on March 1st. We'll verify that it is GIS routing properly, and then we'll load the rest that are ready soon following. The plan would be on the same day. So as of March 1st, we should have roughly about 10 counties loaded. Now, some of those that are projected to be ready mid-March, if they're ready earlier, we'll also deploy multiple PSAPs there. So I would say, generally speaking, with the kickoff calls that Caroline's had, she's had multiple discussions, one-on-one discussions with counties. There's always unique issues with GIS data in that there are some counties, for instance, that manage it based on county boundaries versus PSAP boundaries. So some areas the PSAP may be, in between two counties. So there are decisions being made as to whether or not that will deploy that county with a partial PSAP boundary and wait for the other county to load. Or do we try to, what we're really trying to do is coordinate the multiple counties so the whole PSAP shape is loaded at once if that PSAP boundary crosses county boundaries. The good news here is, again, anything that we load makes the solution better, and anything that we don't continues to route like it does today. So if we did a partial GIS load, there's no harm, no foul to how the solution works today. It would just be that the partial area of the PSAP that doesn't get loaded continues to route via ESN until that other county comes online.
Hey, Rich,
it's a lot.
Rich, we got a couple hands up. I'm going to pause you there. Jackie?
Sure.
Yeah, Rich, my question is, and I asked this last time, since Entrado has the PSAP boundaries already loaded, can we not turn it up and then get people to load their data and the process, turn it up for everybody? That was just kind of a thought I had. I know a lot of the counties I'm doing, they're using your data. And so I was just curious as to the ability to just turn up the whole state and then move forward with getting the county's data, plus that gives us time to finish the state project. Just curious.
Yeah, Jackie, we kind of talked towards that over the last, I would say, 6 to 12 months. We do have seamless boundaries, versions of boundaries, right, for the entire state. So technically, we could do that. We've offered that as part of this process, but we need to get acknowledgement from the PSEP or the GIS authority for the county to be able to do that. We're not willing to take the risk of just loading boundaries that have not even been looked at or validated by the county GIS person. So if they contact us, we're absolutely will provide them a PDF version of what that boundary looks like. And if they say yes, go ahead, load that for now, and we'll figure it out later. Great, we will, but we won't do it without that okay from
That
the
makes
area.
sense. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Yep. Matt?
I believe that we've filled out the EGDMS form and sent it back. And my GIS guys are kind of asking, is there any pre-work we can do with loading boundaries and like getting some stuff validated I'm with El Paso Teller.
Sure. And I'm going to bounce this over to Caroline. Caroline, you're on.
Hi, Matt. I'm not sure if I've received that user form. I'm just checking now.
Yeah, I'm looking on your spreadsheet, Caroline, your tracker, and it just shows that nothing has started yet. So again, just for everyone on the call, we've sent out that user form to everyone. We believe maybe Matt, your folks were missed or you were missed. We can always resend that form back out, but that's what kicks off the process typically. So if they have not received that form or you haven't, Tracy, we can send that out to Matt and his folks and get started, because we show it as not yet begun. So we sent that form out to everybody. And as we receive them, we have these kickoff calls, we get the GIS data, we get our EGDMS configuration set up. That's what kicks off everything. And I don't think we've received anything back from El Paso, but maybe because the right folks didn't receive the form to begin with. So we can, Tracy, if we can send that back out to Matt and his group, then that probably would formally kick it off.
Yeah, I thought we had returned it. I'd given it to my GIS team to fill out, and I believe that we sent it back. So let's circle back on that when we can.
Okay. And Caroline, if you just want to double check that we haven't received it, maybe it got lost in the shuffle, but
Yeah, I'll check. I'll reach out to Ken too. Perhaps he has a copy of it.
okay. But generally speaking, we're really happy with progress. I'm going to speak on Caroline's behalf, but Caroline, you could feel free to talk too. But the response we have received is great. Everybody we're working with is very excited. They're very responsive. We're getting the data we need. Troubleshooting the little things that come up with GIS boundaries. Nothing major at this point yet, other than like those county PSAP boundaries, but that's not even major. That's just decision point we need to do. So it's really exciting. Again, I think I've said it multiple times on this call. I live in Longmont, Colorado, so I've been excited for this for years. So I think everyone's feeling the excitement of getting this going. So we should. Yeah.
Matt, I think your hand's probably still just waving at us. But Kimberly, you had your hand up too.
Hey, Kimberly.
And I'm not sure if this was covered. I was in transit back to my office when this started, but are we going to be able to get a copy of this sheet? Because this is great information.
Sure. Yeah, I can get it up.
Okay, great. And then I'm in the same boat with Matt. I thought my GIS folks have already attended the training, sent data in, have been uploading it to the portal and whatnot. So I'll follow up internally, but if you guys can follow up as well too to see if you guys did receive that and it just hasn't been.
Yeah, Larimer County. Yes, we've been working with Larimer.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Right now, yeah, Kimberly, right now, Larimer is in progress. We have an estimated readiness date of 3/15.
Okay, fantastic.
Just to remind everyone on the call too, that Caroline and I will work to update this a little bit. One is kind of an estimated readiness date, which is what we're talking about here, and then there'll be an estimated turn up date. We're going to turn these up once a month. So at beginning of every month, whatever's ready from the previous month will turn up. So if Larimer comes in prior and we're ready before the 1st, Kimberly, we would turn it up after our initial testing. If not, then we'll get it, we'll get everything prepared and ready to load in the month of March to load for April 1st.
That's great. Thank you.
Jennifer.
Yeah, to Kimberly's point, I just wanted to let everybody know that this update is in the meeting materials for today's meeting. And also, we have a project tracker updates on the committee documents page for the ESInet users group. Excuse me. And as Tracy is providing these now in email form, in addition to the tracker, I will put the emails in here so that everybody can keep track of what she's sending. And it will be all on the ESInet users group task force page.
So Tracy and folks, Carolina and I have, so that data sheet that you have right there kind of was an initial draft of how we're doing this. We have a more detailed spreadsheet now. So we'll get that tidied up a little bit. We'll get that out to Tracy to get out to the appropriate folks, Jennifer, so you can include it.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Awesome, Rich. And Rich, with the exception of, this meeting, obviously we send everything out Wednesday morning before the call, but typically for you guys, if we can lump it all together, our agreement with the state is to send an update every Thursday. So if it's possible to get a spreadsheet end of the day Wednesday, that would kind of keep everything together.
And Carolina, I think that would be fine with us, right?
Yes, that's good.
I mean, even very, very end of the day Wednesday is completely fine. The only exception, like I said, is sending it out prior to the user group meeting. So
I will echo the appreciation on this format. It's really easy to keep up with it, and it was actually one of the requests that I had on behalf of the EOG. I sent an email to Tim, Tracy, and Tressa a couple days ago, and the request of these status for the GIS project was in there. This checks that box, and it's awesome if we can just like you said, consolidate this with the weekly status report, weekly update that Tracy's doing. That would be really efficient, and we'd really appreciate it.
Great.
Yep. And Rich, did you say it's a spreadsheet?
Yeah, if I can.
It can even be a tab in the spreadsheet here then, because what we've done is kind of put together a tracker of some of these projects aren't mine, but we're putting everything in one spot just so it's easier to find. So that's up to Stephen and the team. If you want me to paste it into a tab here, or if you want a separate document, I can do either.
I think all in the same document as a separate tab keeps it really efficient and all in one place.
Yep. And so I can just load, Rich, I'll copy and paste whatever you guys send, and we'll just name it GIS and go from there.
Okay. If I can, I'm going to steal the screen for a second. Oh, I can't. I was going to show you just what it looks like. That's it. Tracy, are someone allowed to give me
you can
authority?
You can share now.
Okay. So it's again, we're tweaking it a little bit, but I'm adding this estimated load date here. Can you see my screen? There it is. So we'll have county, PSAP status, estimated readiness date, estimated load date. So this is briefly what I went through here about about 24 up in progress, 10 or so are ready to be loaded. And then we're in various different stages with other counties. So we'll get this over and we can add it, and Tracy can add it to that spreadsheet.
Perfect. Thank you.
I think that's it for now, unless there are some more questions around that. It's progressing well.
Any other questions for Rich on GIS?
Steve Natt's got his hand up.
Oh, thanks. Go ahead. Sorry, it wasn't on my screen. Go ahead, Matt.
No worries. Rich, I'm just curious, don't want to make any assumptions in the spreadsheet that we received from Tracy. What's the difference between PSAP map creation in progress versus upload in progress?
I can answer that. So for PSAPs that do not have their GIS data ready yet or don't have GIS data, we are creating a map and we send that PDF map out just for confirmation. I think Rich spoke to this earlier. And actually that is complete now and the data is loaded.
So PSAP map creation is in essence you obtaining authorization from the PSAP or the governing body to use your internal version of their boundary for now?
Correct.
Thanks.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Rich, and thank you, Caroline. Appreciate all the work. Seems to be running smoothly.
Sure. Caroline's doing all of it. I just get to pray, take the credit.
There you go. All right, next one, part of the network performance project. This is specific to Estes Park. Have scheduled some time where my solutions engineers, Steve and Kevin, are scheduled to be on a call with Kimberly next week. I have to double check if it's the 17th or 18th, but they were trying to track down some information specific to her site. So I do have that on the schedule and planning to get an update from them next week. Kimberly, I don't know if you have anything specific, but I did get acceptance from the right folks to be on the call with you.
My only specifics is just circling back on the open information.
Yeah.
So nothing new to add to it.
Perfect. I shared your email with them, and like I said, we spoke about it internally, so hopefully we get it taken care of next week. The ECATS reporting for El Paso Teller, this one, the last few updates, what we have on here is that the El Paso Teller is working directly with the ECATS team. I know that they do have, I think they switched to monthly meetings on these tickets, but there were some specific issues directly between ECATS and El Paso Teller. And I don't know if this is getting worked on or not, or if email exchanges are still taking place. I haven't been able to get a clear update from the PSAP or from the ECATS team on this one. So if anyone on that call,
I can. This is Matt Tell. I can speak to that. So
Okay.
we are working directly with ECATS. There's probably no reason to keep it on this tracker. Basically, our CPE is not reporting the trunk numbers. So we're getting the ECATS reports. It's just ECATS has kind of asked if we could provide the trunk numbers for the calls coming in, and my CPE is working on a CDR rewrite project. So we are working on it, but it's kind of in the background. So I don't think it needs to be on this tracker anymore. I'm working directly with them.
Okay. So rather than remove it, I'm going to move it, if it's okay, to that closed monitoring tab, because we have a couple others on there that the issues have stopped,
that's
or they're
fine.
working somewhere else. I don't, we want to keep track of it in case it becomes a problem again.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. You can move it there.
Okay. Line 8, again, specific to the network performance project. This is Garfield County. As of last Friday, we do not have a quote from the new vendor. I have asked Sharon and Tamika and Jeff to help me reach back out and see what might be holding the quote up. Typically, our vendor escalations team requests a quote. In this case, I think Garfield County requested it came from Comcast. We just have not heard from Comcast. I don't know if they're not wanting to bid or if they're, I think they're in the area, but we don't have that quote back to be able to move forward with a date for Garfield County. Adams County disconnect. This one I had closed only because, as far as this group, the internal Lumen team, we completed the disconnect request on our side. Jeff did this the end of last month. I did work with Sharon Smith, and she said the disconnect is in process. This can take up to 60 days once the request is submitted before the circuit is actually disconnected. Once that's done, Sharon would be the point of contact to discuss any billing corrections, credits, or errors that need to take place. And we did share this with Adams County, I think yesterday, that we just need to wait the 60 days and then Sharon can reach out. Issues, network performance project.
Sorry,
Yes.
Tracy. Amy has her hand up from Adams County.
Yep. Hi, Tracy. It's Amy. You can go ahead and move that to closed and monitoring now after you and I talked yesterday. That's just fine.
Okay, perfect.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I have the case number. You know, what I'd like to ask is if you don't hear something by the end of next month, let me know. But
Absolutely.
we'll definitely work with any credit that you need on that. It's just 60 days is kind of just standard process for these.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
You betcha. Line 11, this is specific to our circuit updates, providing that information weekly as I have it. One change to the email I sent out today, I did get a response from Vail, and we are moving forward with turning them up at the end of February. So my Lumen technician, right now it's Vince, is going to be on site on the 24th. We have Entrado resources lined up. We have our activation engineer lined up, and we plan on doing Vail as our next PSAP. I think I shared too, Castle Rock, Lincoln County, and Washington Yuma are already complete. So as both circuits and any other equipment are installed on site, you no longer will be working with a third-party vendor. You'll be working directly with me to get the activations going. I pull in Entrado, I dispatch our techs. I know for Castle Rock, it took under an hour to get both circuits up, tested, and going. So crossing fingers, and hopefully the same happens in Vail. There's 4 or 5 others that I called out on the email where the circuits and equipment are ready to roll. I'm just waiting to get a confirmation both from the Entrado engineer and my Lumen tech that we can be on site, because we will definitely have Lumen on site for these activations. Shouldn't be a whole lot for the PSAP to do. My tech will be on the phone with the Entrado tech, and they do the testing, they make the test calls. Really what we need support from the PSAP standpoint is to let us on site and, you know, process the activation. But you can be as involved or hands off as you would like to be. Those of you that work with like Converge One, they're more than welcome, and we encourage them to be on site as well. So again, I did hear from Vail right before this call, and we are going to move forward on February 24th. For Rohit, Douglas, El Paso, and Moffett, right now I'm working with Canada and Entrado. I'm hoping to do all of these before the end of March. Any questions on kind of where we're moving? The current updates, those are what came in from our vendors or my off-net team. Some of these locations, I do need answers from the customer. Just, you know, a couple of them we're waiting to move forward until the building's ready. There were 2 there, Thornton and Baca County. I know I was copied on notification that we're ready to do a site survey there. Got confirmation from Prowers County and the vendor that the NID's installed. So I expect to see Prowers County getting added to that list soon for activation. I know Jackie's on. We're working pretty closely with Rocky Ford. Just they have some other things going on there. One circuit, we did get our tech out and it's ready to go. We're pending another circuit. And also this is a location that's migrating to MEC. So we'll be working on that moving forward too. Any questions on just kind of the overall circuit installation process?
Tracy, this is Jackie. You said you have one in Rocky Ford already? Because I know we rescheduled from last week.
Yeah, it wasn't Brandy, but she did send someone out there on the 6th of February, and the Lumen circuit is complete. We're waiting for the vendor circuit. So we can't move forward or do activations until both circuits are there, but they did show up on Friday the 6th.
Great, thank you.
And I wanted to make sure I called that out for you because I won't be on the call this week. I'm actually heading out as soon as we're done with this call today, but I did want to make sure we updated you on Rocky Ford. And then I do have the information for La Junta on what we need to forward their 911 calls to Rocky Ford. So that's not part of this project, but we are going to get that paperwork over to Entrado. so that we can get that taken care of for you.
Great, thank you so much.
Yep. I think the next item on the tracker is really that last mile piece, or no, wait. Yeah, and this is kind of the one that Tressa and Tim update quarterly. I know we submitted it at the end of January, I believe. That update is actually provided each quarter for the tariff requirements. I don't have anything new on New Mexico. It is still, good old legal between all the parties. Red lines are going back and forth. It is going to happen. I don't know when exactly. It will be the next state that borders Colorado that gets the transfers in. I believe we're still kind of holding out on the star code cleanup just to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to receive the updates and make any necessary changes. I think it was pointed out that, once we take these star codes away, it's very, very difficult to put them back. So just wanting to make sure everyone's aware. And then once we get the okay to remove them, we'll go ahead and take care of that.
Tracy, can I jump in for a second?
Absolutely.
One, I appreciate everybody's attention to this. I've got a lot of questions about it, and just to make everybody aware of a couple of things. People have reached out and asked about CSP Pueblo and CSP Denver. They are not on this list because they do not currently have a call handling solution that accepts 911 or is compatible taking 911 calls. So you cannot transfer 911 calls to CSP Denver, CSP Pueblo, and they are not on this list for that reason. CSP Alamosa, CSP San Juan County are on here, and then State Patrol Craig is on here as Craig Regional Communications Center. So if you were looking for the State Patrol stuff, that's why that's not there. I also had a question. If it says see Kit Carson, for example, on Cheyenne County, that means that those 911 calls that would go to Cheyenne County are answered by Kit Carson. And so you need to go to Kit Carson's star code. So those are just some of the questions that have been asked of me as people are updating their resources. And I just wanted to give everybody a chance to ask any questions that you might have.
Okay.
All right. Again, we are going to target the end of the month to have Intrado delete the unused star codes. So it's really important that everybody's speed dials and resources at their consoles are updated so that you aren't trying down the line to transfer a 911 call to a star code that no longer exists. We don't want that to happen. So if you need a copy of this star code list, please reach out to me. Thanks, Tracy.
Yeah, just let us know when Intrado's aware of it. So whenever you give us the go ahead, they'll go ahead and make those updates for you.
Great, thanks.
Yep. I think we mentioned earlier, Jeff is out, not feeling well today, but as far as these CGIS requirements, we still have less than 50% of the responses back from the PSAPs. We can track the ones that have come back in, and we're working on that internally, but the more information we can get, the better we'll be prepared when we do need to come on site to do, any type of work. This isn't tied to just the tariff language necessarily. So if you guys need that survey again, Sharon and I can get the link from Jeff, or if you have a few minutes to update it, that's going to help us keep it current. I have the ECATS rollout at the bottom here. It sounds like I can go ahead and take the one for Matt off the list. This is just left to here. There's still several locations. They're in the email that have not entertained the idea of ECATS yet. Intrado is ready and willing to get you guys the equipment needed and get these going. I have had a couple conversations with Blackhawk, and we're just waiting to schedule a meeting with Intrado and get the proper paperwork going for them. I think there's someone that's going to help out with that location. So moved Blackhawk up to the top, but for the others on this list, if you guys are interested in ECATS, I can give you information on the reporting that's available. Intrado can give you details on what you need to do to get started. But there are still a handful that if you guys are interested, just let me know.
Tracy, a couple of those that are on the list are because there's cost to putting them into their call handling system.
Okay.
And as in the case, and you don't have Otero on here, but their ECAS is under her desk. It's not hooked up
Okay. Great.
because there was a cost to CallWorks and they were upgrading their phone, so they wanted to wait and not pay the extra cost.
Okay. So some of it's the equipment.
Yeah, and Lake County is on CallWorks as well, and so I'm sure there was a cost that they didn't want to incur.
Okay.
And since we're on the subject, CSP Denver won't be connecting to ECATS until they have a call handling solution for 911.
Okay.
And I'm not sure about the Air Force bases.
Okay. I'll put notes beside all of those and also let Jackie out and Toronto know. These are just, all the locations were called out in the tariff, which is how they made this list, but it is helpful to know, kind of why. And I just got new contact information from the tribal location, so I'll be reaching out to talk to them to see if it's something they're interested or not. But we did finally get some updated contact information, so that's helpful. And Crowley, I think I have a note somewhere. They're migrating to the MEC solution, so they may be waiting for that before they do ECATS, and which is fine. I mean, this is basically up to each individual location. Whenever you guys are ready, we're ready to help you. Awesome. So the bottom three there are really ones where the conversations are with folks that aren't always on these calls. If we do need to bring them on, I know Tress is always here for the first couple, but if we need details on FCC phase 1 and phase 2, that's something that does come from a different group at Lumen. I can bring them on board at any time. Just let me know when you guys are ready to have additional discussions there. We did move the Colorado, Wyoming state line transfers down here. That's not something that is a project with Lumen at this time. Jeff Winkleman does have the state of Wyoming, and he does have conversations with individual PSAPs there, but right now we don't have a directive, if you will, to process state line transfers with Wyoming.
Daryl's got hands up.
Yep.
Yeah, this is Daryl. I would appreciate an update on the phase 1, not necessarily phase 2, but the phase 1 implementation. I really haven't heard anything new in a while. It was back in September that I sent the letter basically requesting a proposed timeline for migrating the OSPs to a SIP aggregation point and some recommendations on where those aggregation points should be. I did have a couple of conversations with Paul Brown, but those conversations really consisted of the engineers are working on this. And at this point, if it's not the right time to talk about it because you guys are too busy working on the GIS geospatial routing implementation, that's understandable. But I'd like to get a timeline on when we can at least start talking about it, or a timeline on when I could expect to see that requested information.
Okay. And you said you sent that September 2025?
Yep.
Okay. I'll go back and look at it and engage probably Tressa, Tim, and Paul, and just see if either they can provide an update that I can share with you guys next month, or if we can get them to give a verbal update when everybody's on the call.
That would be great. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Tracy, that was a topic that actually was brought to us from Lumen. And I'd have to look back in the notes on which EUG meeting it was, but it's been a handful of them ago. To Daryl's point, we were told that the location options would come back to us for discussion. So thanks, Daryl, for bringing that up.
Perfect. I'll follow up with Paul and team before I leave today. The other tabs on here, with the exception of Carbine, we can glance at them. I don't have direct insight into all of them. I do reach out and try to get some updates for you guys. I'm just not a part of the MEC project or any PSAP moves. As for Carbine, I know that Grand Junction, we're getting closer. It's coming up to where we just need some more information from them. We have the cutover scheduled with Entrado, so just working on completing Grand Junction. And then I'm not sure if anyone from Westminster or Broomfield is on the phone today, but we did a kickoff call for Westminster and Broomfield. We have started the process with them. What we're waiting for is the due form to be returned to me so that we can get that to Ken. And once Entrado has that, we'll be able to schedule, the ongoing conversations as well as the cutover for Westminster and Broomfield as well.
Hey, Tracy.
Tracy, Matt had his hand up. Sorry, Jennifer.
Nope, was going to say the same thing.
Okay, great.
Oh, it's all good. I was gonna ask about the poise. That seems to be, I mean, Daryl's covered it. We're waiting on Lumen to get back to us about the poise.
That's on the phase 1, line 18.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's covered. Thanks, though.
Okay. And again, so the Carbine tab I did go over. I know there's 3 or 4 locations where we're waiting for the paperwork to be signed, and then we can create a project with Entrado. For MEC, that one, I believe Washington Yuma is the one that was completed, and Mel is a project coordinator here at Lumen. She's working with Crawley. Lincoln's done, and then for La Junta and Werfeno, I'm kind of waiting on those 2. I know one of them I'm waiting to hear back from the PSAP if their building is ready. And then Jackie's aware of Rocky Ford. We just need to wait for that circuit. But these, 5, 6 locations will be managed by a project manager that are going to kind of work in tandem with me. We'll get the circuits activated, and then they'll get the MEC product up and going for you. And then the moves are kind of the same. Those are typically Jeff and Kevin working with individual PSAPs that want to move equipment or change rooms. These items are not part of the solutions in their tariff. They're things that can be called out and assigned a program manager. But right now, these are sitting with the account team. So I don't have updates or dates on these, just the request to do some moves on site. And then, starting next week or next month when the updates go out, I'll add a tab that has GIS. I think that's it as far as what is in the tracker. Unless you guys have any questions for me or something that I missed or need to add.
All right, it's not on the agenda, but I want to ask Lumen, or if Tim's on the call, if he has any update on the filing that is expected for February 15th. I sent an email, copied the group on it, with our asks at the request of Tim at the last meeting to send him inclusion or topics to put into the new plan. And I asked the question why Lumen is choosing to put in a new plan versus an amended plan. So do you guys have an update on that?
Yeah, this is Tim. I can answer that. And I will go back to the point about sending information. I haven't received any, other than what you sent over the other day, Steve. So if there's been some other information sent over to the company, I haven't seen it. So please send it my way. With the first question around a new plan versus amending the current plan, I guess I don't know. I guess I really don't know what the difference is. So I said new plan because it is a new plan. I don't know if it would be filed under the same proceeding number, if we ask for a new proceeding number. So I'm not quite sure on some of those logistics, but I'm not sure that I understand the difference between a new and an amended anyway.
Matt's got his hand up.
Hey, Tim.
Hey, Matt.
If this filing is essentially going to contain the unfinished items from the initial plan, we're just sort of curious, what would the reason be for not just amending the existing plan for what is essentially only unfinished items? Is it because of a costing difference that you want to work through a new plan as opposed to extending through an amendment of the existing plan?
I think overall, the couple items that we're going to propose are a little different than just building off the old plan. But then also having the rate fall off, in March, and then have the new rate March of 27, and have the new rate. It seemed like it would be simpler to let one expire and then the other one starts. So they wouldn't really be related to each other in terms of, all the pricing and costing and those sorts of things. Seems easier.
Thank you.
And adding that, just the second question I'd asked in my email was, will the current improvement plan initiatives be complete by that March of 2027 date?
Yes, they will.
Okay. Thank you, Tim.
Of course. And so, overall, we're working on putting this plan together. I know it's due, the 15th, I think is Sunday, so technically Monday. We're going to need a little more time. We've been negotiating with some third parties. This has been a lot of effort with these third parties, and that's what's been taking some time. So we're trying to negotiate agreements with DeGero and with Starlink. I had mentioned previously that we were trying to loop in a CDOT negotiation. That it just isn't going to work out in the time frame that I think we'll need to be able to accomplish. So we'll need a little bit more time from this Monday due date, but we would need a lot more time to roll in the CDOT thing. So that's kind of what's been holding things up. In addition to, we've had a lot of change in the company over the last, it's really about the last 2 weeks now, officially, but things have been kind of moving since the beginning of the year with our sale of assets to AT&T. And so that's taken some different resources away from us. And so that slowed some of the conversations down a little bit, which is why we're going to have a little bit of a delay on this. But we think we've got what we need, or at least we're going to have what we need from DeGero and Starlink to have an agreement in place. One of the questions that we're trying to nail down is, will there be, similar to how we have the last mile, diversity ongoing charge that we added, the $24 additional to the recurring charge? Trying to figure out will there be a recurring, I believe there will be, but will there be a non-recurring element to any of the DeGero and Starlink efforts, or is it mostly going to be monthly recurring? And so that's part of what's trying to be sorted out with the agreement with these other companies, is what's the payment structure look like?
Tim, can you expand a bit on the delay since the filing is due on the 15th? What are you expecting?
Well, I think we're going to need at least a few more weeks to put this plan together with actual costs and requests. We generally have what the scope looks like, and so I think what we'll probably do for simplicity is at least file that framework so that folks understand what we're working on, and then request some additional time from the commission to file the formal costs. I think timing wise, we will still be okay from a statewide surcharge standpoint. I don't see an issue because, again, these aren't going to be a lot of projects that I think we're going to need to dig deep into. So hopefully this won't take too much time to settle out.
Kimberly?
So the CCOA is preparing a document to provide you, but we don't have a meeting until next week.
Okay.
And then we'll hopefully be able to send that over to you. And they're just ideas because we haven't seen the scope from CenturyLink about what these ideas are that you guys are building. So we may not be aligned. We may be going in a couple of different directions. Can you guys share the scope with us, what these projects are, some details, even though it's before your filing? And then we can kind of guide our comments and ideas back to you based on what you're already considering.
Sure. So high level, the Degero and Starlink solutions would be to add either last mile diversity for the first time for some locations. Most are going to be covered in the ongoing project. So provide that last mile diversity for those that didn't have last mile diversity in the original plan, and then for the remaining folks who already have some last mile diversity, we'll add this third connection so that if there is any sort of problem with the landline type facilities, we'd still have some alternatives to still carry traffic. And so we're hoping that, going back to strange things like I remember we had the weird card problem with the cabinet overheating that I think was impacting Thornton. Those are the kinds of things that a Degero or a Starlink solution would resolve. So even though like that particular wire center had diversity, it was a different problem. So we're hopeful that having that third connection would resolve some of those sorts of things, but ensuring that everybody has the last mile diversity. And then the other project that I'm still trying to kind of wrap my arms around what it really means is we'd like to, similar to upgrading the Ethernet connection, we want to do what's called an SD-WAN upgrade. And that again continues us down the path of IP solution and ensuring that we have the capability to interface with any number of these other types of providers, like the Degeros and the Starlinks and fixed wireless and these sorts of things. So I think that is a technology that will improve the overall connectivity. And I'm just trying to get a little more detail on how to explain all that. So apologies that I don't have a lot of information on the SD-WAN. And then the other issue, though, that we're digging into is, okay, similar to how we had last time with the port charges, we were already collecting some money in the existing leasing structure. And we're trying to make sure that we do or don't have those type of overlapping costs that were being recovered so that we can then make that fine-tune adjustment similar to how we did with the Ethernet and last mile project this last time, to say we've already collected some of this money and we're still collecting it. And so it'll replace a portion of what's already being collected, so that we're accounting for the fact that you are paying for some of these upgrades. You are paying in part some of it historically, and so we want to apply those dollars to the next upgrade. So there's still some of that we're trying to work out. So that's why this has been a little more complicated than I think we hoped it would be a few months ago.
Well, Tim, the verbal is awesome. I appreciate the detail that you've provided us. The intent of getting do you have documentation that you can share with us? Because that would help CCOA and anybody that wants to provide any feedback or specific, try to avoid any kind of intervening. Is there anything you can share with us in writing?
Yes, there is. And so that's what I'm trying to put together. I just got some of this information this morning to help explain some of the connectivity that we're talking about and the agreements we're talking about. So yes, I'm working on putting together all of that information, and I hope to have that done in the next couple of days.
Steve, Joe's got his hand up.
Joe?
Oh, hey, Joe.
Tim, is there a reason the Dejero Starling solution would not also provide an alternative path for middle mile facilities, for example, to connect to back up the single route to Telluride?
Well, I don't think it will essentially replace the middle mile. Not replace, complement the middle mile. So that is in effect what it is. It's as if it's a new middle mile connection. But it looks like it's last mile because we're going to keep that connectivity to the PSAP even if we have a problem with the central office.
So that'll provide diverse path diversity statewide then.
That's the idea.
But supplemental, not
supplemental, right? We don't want to rely on it 100% of all traffic, but we do want to have it as something standby ready.
Is that because of a bandwidth capacity issue, costing, third, fourth party down? What's the thinking there? Can you share?
I don't know if I fully know if there are bandwidth, if it's more of we just want to focus on 911 and not worry about other traffic. I think that's part of what they're scoping in the agreements with these companies is, are we going to haul other traffic for you, or are we really focused on 911 traffic? And I think that we're really focused on 911 traffic.
So we wouldn't have a backup for the wireless backhaul that's necessary before you can transfer.
Yeah, I don't think so. No.
Thanks.
Additional questions for Tim? All right, Tim, thanks for the update. Anything
Yeah, I'll
else
get something out as fast as I can. Apologies for the delays on all this.
All right, thanks. That'll help us guide any comments or questions back to you.
Sure.
All right, I think the next thing on the agenda was public comment. Any comments or questions from the general public? Those that aren't representing a PSAP or an authority. All right, hearing nothing. Anything else for the good of the order? All right, we'll look forward to hearing back from Lumen on those items. And thanks, Tracy, for blending the GIS spreadsheet into your issue tracker. That'll be really efficient. And holler if anybody needs anything. Give you guys a little bit of time back in your day. It's 11 o'clock, and we'll adjourn.
Thanks, guys.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.